A lot of people ordering from restaurants in Ontario. Restaurants have been hard hit, and one thing that we've been talking about a lot is supporting local business. Restaurants currently not allowed to have dine-in customers, and many restaurants have turned to online food ordering and delivery platforms as a way to get, their business continuing and get more business going. One point often overlooked is delivery drivers using their own vehicles who may not be covered in the event of an accident or personal injury. Joining us to talk about this is Rajiv Hate, personal injury lawyer at Kotak. Hi, Rajiv.
Hi, Barb. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks a lot for doing this. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well, thank you, and thanks for having me again on your show. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. We've talked a lot about being an Uber driver, less about being an Uber Eats driver or a DoorDash driver or Foodora. And I almost wonder if people sometimes take these jobs as a way to make a little bit of extra money and don't even think about their car insurance.
You're probably absolutely correct about that, especially now during a global pandemic when so many people are sadly out of work, whether, being let go or laid off, and they're looking for an extra way to earn some money on the side. And one way to do that is, if you have a vehicle, you can try to be a delivery driver. And in fact, some of these delivery companies are even allowing people to deliver on foot or through a bicycle. And so what a lot of people do, especially when it comes to using their own automobile, is they'll reach out to these companies, which are very easy to do so right on their website. You can easily just kind of apply to become a driver. And when doing so, they're not aware that if you have to use your own personal auto insurance policy, it may not cover actions or claims or accidents while you're using your vehicle for that purpose of delivering food.
Wouldn't you think, maybe it's too obvious, but I would think that somewhere it would be listed, make sure to contact your insurance, but then you wonder how many people would end up becoming drivers.
Exactly. And, in fact, it's funny because you really would think that. Now, one thing that, I guess I can commend Uber on is that they do, for Uber Eats, have a commercial auto insurance policy that covers their drivers in the event of a collision. But other companies, such as Skip the Dishes and DoorDash, they don't. Skip the Dishes, in fact, goes as far as to say, and they make it very clear on their website that you are an independent contractor, which effectively is for the purpose of relieving them of liability if there is a claim involving their driver. And on their website, it actually tries to sell you the benefit of being an independent contractor, such as saying, you can make your own schedule, drive when you want, accept an order when you want, but it doesn't talk about the risks that you face, which are very, very significant, because if you're involved in a collision and your own personal auto insurance policy does not cover you, now you're personally liable. And, people can eventually go after your assets in severe cases, which, again, could be very devastating for the majority of people.
Is it, I don't know if you know the answer to this, but is it quite a bit more expensive if you contact your insurance to be able to get coverage for driving for a delivery app?
So I would think so, yes. There, in fact, was a CBC article where they interviewed an individual in Kitchener who, in fact, contacted his insurance company. And, the average rate is roughly about $1,500 a year for most drivers in the GTA. This person in Kitchener called and said in order to get a commercial policy, it would cost him $10,000 a year. So
wow.
That's a pretty significant difference. And, most people that don't realize that, now you have to really weigh, is it even worth it at this point to purchase that policy? Are you going to even earn as much as the policy costs? And the scary thing is that most people won't even look into it as much as they should, because you sign up to be a driver. There's an agreement, a contract or an agreement that says you have to agree to this, an independent contractor agreement, for example, in order to be a driver. Most people are probably just going to go ahead and click yes and sign because they want to be the driver and they want to earn money without actually reading through the specific language involved. And that's really unfortunate because, again, if they are involved in an accident, it could really affect them personally.
So this is not about your rates going up. This is about your policy being voided if you're in an accident and they find out you've been driving for a food delivery app.
Exactly, and it's not. It's one about being voided. That's definitely a risk that you face.
Okay.
Your premium could also go up then the next time you do go try to get auto insurance coverage. But there's also a risk that the claim itself is denied. So if you are involved in an accident, your insurance company might say, "Hey, sorry, while if it was for your personal use, we cover you up to $1 million. This was for a commercial use, so now you can be sued personally, and we're not going to cover you for that claim."
And can refuse to cover you in the future.
Absolutely. That's always a risk that you face, right? That insurance companies may not want to cover you in the future. Like you said, they may void the policy. And again, the next time you try to get a new policy, your premiums could shoot through the roof.
So somebody is writing in saying that they are an Uber driver. And they called their insurance company, added extra insurance to the policy. But would it also apply for, I mean, it's not like it would, like, because you said, I think you said Uber Eats has insurance, but some of the other ones don't.
Exactly. And that person who called in, they did exactly the right thing. I would really urge each individual to call your own insurance company, because everybody's individual policy differs based on your driving record. And so whether they'll offer that to you or not is really dependent on the individual. Now, again, Uber itself, they do offer a commercial auto insurance that will cover yourself and other drivers. But again, there are other platforms such as DoorDash, Skip the Dishes, that say you're an independent contractor and you are required to effectively obtain that on your own. And effectively, they specifically say these contracts and agreements that you agree that you have the proper legal requirements, including licenses and permits necessary to perform the task required, which is effectively being a driver. And a lot of people may think, okay, I'm required to have car insurance. Well, I do have car insurance, so I'm covered. But that's not really the case, and that's why I really do urge people to call your own insurance company if you are driving for one of these companies. Make sure that you do have coverage, because you just don't want to be personally responsible for an accident or a claim against you in the event of an unfortunate incident like an accident.
Well, sure. And you mentioned that the driver in Kitchener contacted and was quoted about $10,000 a year, which would make a lot of people paying under $2,000 a year say, you know what, it's not worth it. How many deliveries do I have to make before it pays itself off?
That's absolutely right. And again, that's something that I think each individual would have to decide on their own.
So a good question. If you got into an accident, this is on our text board, while making a food delivery, how would the insurance company know that you were making a food delivery at the time of the accident? Are they going to search your cell phone for evidence or some other means of your employment? So in terms of searching property, they may conduct investigations. Insurance companies often do investigate various claims. But it's also if, for example, the police are called to an accident, if there's any witnesses, the person that you're involved in an accident with, there's various ways for the truth to come out, right? So, and most of the time when people are involved in an accident, they call their insurance companies. I mean, you're supposed to, and tell them the conditions leading up to the accident. They will often ask you, what were you doing when the accident occurred? Were you in the course of your employment? Were you doing some sort of employment? Were you delivering something? Or, again, was it just, your personal use? And then, like I said, if the police are involved and they investigate, they themselves may write down that this person was delivering for, an Uber or for Skip the Dishes, for example. Or, again, there may be witnesses who are able to attest to that, including the other driver or person that's involved in the accident. And, and if you choose to do it without getting the proper insurance, you're taking a big chance. Like every time you go out and do your deliveries, you're taking a big chance that nothing is going to happen, which is kind of a scary place to be.
Exactly, it really is. And, I know for some of them, I believe it's Skip the Dishes, Uber Eats says, you're covered as soon as you accept, an order that comes through. But even while you're sort of idle, if you're on the app, you're still covered for less coverage, but you're still covered. Whereas, something like DoorDash, for example, they apparently provide excess auto insurance, but it only applies towards driver damage that's caused to a third party, and only when the driver is actually in possession of the goods to be delivered, which to me suggests that if you are en route if you accept an order, for example, and you're en route to go pick it up, if you aren't actually in possession of the food to be delivered, you may not be covered even with that excess insurance that they offer. So again, why I really stress to contact your own insurance company and ensure that you have the coverages in place that you need to have.
It's great advice. Rajiv, thanks so much for this.
No problem. Thanks so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Okay, we'll talk soon. Rajiv Hate is a personal injury lawyer at Kotak.